Hi, and welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to Cup of Joe and a Show podcast. This is episode 10.
We hit double digits, Kenneth.
Oh,
Can you believe we've
beautiful.
actually done 10 episodes?
Took us a long time to get here.
Oh yeah.
Behind the scenes note, we filmed 8 of these in like 3 days.
It's actually really impressive how much
Yeah.
we got done.
It's-
Also, it's really impressive how many takes we had of that one.
And I'm very tired.
it's also more impressive that I couldn't even pronounce Alfred Hitchcock.
You can now, though.
But I
I'm
can't.
proud of
now.
you. That was
Okay.
good. That was really
I
good.
knew what I was trying to say, but I
Mhm.
couldn't say it.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
this episode's about Indiana Jones,
And
The Last Crusade.
now, there's a touching realization behind this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually the last episode that I'm recording before I'm heading off to college in a couple days. And Jarrod thought it would be appropriate to watch The Last Crusade because this was my last crusade for a while. Don't know when I'll be back. I'll be back.
We'll try, but there's no promises. Nick does have to get acquainted to his college life.
Yeah, for sure. It's not that I want to leave, but I'm feeling called to go to college. And if I'm going to spend money on that, then I'd like to make sure that I'm dedicating enough time to that. So I'll definitely try and do episodes with you guys still, but it's not a done thing by any means. I'll be back.
And we'll still be here. Me, Kenny, Jim, Aiden, Joe,
Mhm. Yeah.
and special guests.
For sure.
We'll always be here.
But anyways, I don't know about you guys, but I'd seen this movie probably a handful of times before we watched this tonight. Did you even say names or anything?
No.
No, yeah, no, go
'Cause
ahead.
you
Go
started
ahead. Yeah,
talking. And I just let you go.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Anyway, I'm joined on the podcast today with Nick
Yeah, that was me. That was me talking. That's me. I'm Nick.
and Jarrod.
Who chose wisely?
That was good.
Yeah.
That's wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
Very wholesome. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So now, anyways, back to what we were.
Well, it's not me now.
Yeah.
Jarrod, take it away.
No,
It's yours.
well, yeah.
I would like to actually hear from Kenny first on how he knew about any of this movie,
Yeah, for sure.
because mine is going to take a while.
Let my silence tell you everything.
So you've never heard of the movie and you never watched it until now.
It was the first time that he watched it.
It was
tonight.
the first time I can't confirm that I watched it, but
No.
I've heard of The Last Crusade.
No, it's
Okay.
not your first exposure to Indiana Jones, though.
No,
Right.
I've seen.
Have you seen the other 3 films?
Yes.
That's surprising that you saw Crystal Skull before this one. But it's interesting to have a new take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people can say that they've seen Last Crusade last. Before Dial of Destiny comes out June 30th, 2023.
I did it the right way then, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Apparently, it was
Correct.
the Last Crusade
Correct. Until
It was my last crusade of the Indiana Jones series.
June.
until new one comes out. If you're gonna watch it,
I want to
I don't think
review
you're
it.
gonna watch it.
I want to review it.
Anyways,
Anyway, well,
Anyways, what?
yeah,
So-
I think that was.
My experience with this movie. Why are we laughing?
I don't know. Just
Why did you just laugh?
the whole interaction.
was funny. Okay, we're not gonna restart.
No,
So
we're
you're
gonna
gonna have to cut
continue.
this out.
Why?
No, I like it.
It was just laughter. It's
we
fine.
left the Al.
We
left the
you gotta
Alfred
cut this. You
Hitchcock.
gotta
No.
I'll cut it. Just go ahead.
All right,
do
all
it.
right. My experience with this film is very special. I've seen this movie probably, I'm not exaggerating, 250 times.
Is this like your comfort movie? Like if you're sick and you're like, I'm gonna watch TV, or like, but I don't want to watch a TV show, but I'm gonna watch a movie. Is this like the movie you go to?
Sometimes. I don't usually ever get sick. I don't ever have that issue, but I will put this movie on more times than anything else.
Okay.
I have memorized almost the entire script of this movie.
It is majorly impressive, actually.
So,
And Nick and I can't confirm this.
It is. He hasn't memorized.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had to hold back on talking during the movie, not to infuriate my co-hosts. Especially-
Infuriate is the wrong word.
It's not infuriate. It's more along the lines of if you want us to be able to review the movie with you well,
Mhm.
we need to have the movie experience.
Oh, I get
Yeah.
it. I get
Mhm.
it.
But anyways.
So, when I was around 7 years old, my dad brought home the DVDs for the first 3 movies from the library because Crystal Skull had not come out yet. So he told me, choose one. Doesn't have to be in any order. You can just choose whatever. So I choose this one. And it is the best decision I probably ever made in watching these movies because it hit me immediately. My love of history and art and storytelling came straight from this movie. I can turn it on at any time and not get bored of it. Other movies I've seen so many times, I'm just like, it's okay. I don't have to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
This I will watch whenever anyone says, let's watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it. If it's on TV, I'm watching it. So that's kind of my background with the movie. And I've read the book that's based on this movie like 30 times. And played the video game, especially the train level from the beginning of this movie.
The Lego video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can almost tell you, I can even through this movie tell you exactly what, when the boat scene, I can tell you when exact pieces of wood will fly off the boats. It's scary sometimes to think about it.
It's an obsession.
It is.
Like
But yeah, that's my history with it.
it's interesting to have like I've watched it maybe like 10 times my entire life. I really enjoy it. I enjoyed Indiana Jones. And then it's interesting to have the person who fully just watched it, like first time ever. And then it's cool to have like the absolute diehard fanatic who, if they were like, we're going to pull this movie from shelves, would probably end his own life or something.
I wouldn't go that far. I have 7 copies of this on VHS and the 4K Blu-ray and the DVD, widescreen and full screen.
What if someone took those from you? How would you feel? This will really determine if you're obsessed or not.
I would be broken up beyond repair.
Yeah, okay, he's obsessed.
I have a sealed copy of this on VHS, and you said you were going to open it, and that almost made me
I said
weep.
only if we were dedicated.
And I didn't bring it for that reason.
Yeah, well,
Well,
it's not
see,
dedicated.
Nick, you don't have to worry about them pulling it from shelves because Jarrod pulled it from shelves.
I own every copy in the
That's
entire
true.
United
That's
States.
true. The only version of this movie I don't have is on Laserdisc, and I've been looking.
What is that going to do for you?
I don't know.
This is almost like an intervention now.
Satisfy a need. We haven't even gotten into the plot yet.
Let's turn from a podcast into like, Jarrod, do you know what the problem is?
Oh, I'm fully aware of the problem, but I embrace the problem.
No, it's okay. It's cool, man, that you like this movie that much. I'm interested to see your take. So go ahead and give us
All right,
we
you want to
figured
start
since
from the beginning?
we figured yes, since Jarrod
This is
had
gonna
seen it
obviously gonna be
so
spoilers.
much.
100% spoilers.
Hmm?
Like, after this, you don't even have to watch the movie. I don't think.
Take us on a magical walk to the land of Indiana Jones.
Well, we'll
The Last
start
Crusade.
in the magical land of Utah.
Yeah, the Mormons make it magical.
I don't even know what that means. But anyway,
Okay.
We start in Utah in 1912. Young Indy, is in his Boy Scout troop, walking through the canyons, the valleys, exploring. Him and his friend, Herman, go through a cave system and find some grave robbers who have found what they call the Cross of Coronado. I don't believe it's real. I think it's just made up. But I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, they make you think that this guy that's grave robbing is Indy because they only show you from the back. He has the fedora. He has the leather jacket. And it's only when he turns around and you see it's not him that they reveal that the boy is Indy, the young boy.
Yeah.
Played fantastically by River Phoenix. Like, this kid was hand chosen by Harrison Ford to play his younger self.
Hmm.
He worked with him on The Mosquito Coast, a movie about Harrison Ford's character in the movie taking his family away on a trip or something and like living off the land.
Yeah, I've heard. I've heard of his involvement in it. I
Mhm.
didn't know what it was
And
about.
River Phoenix and him had a really good connection to the point where he could just like start mimicking him, his mannerisms and his way of going about his life. That when this movie came around, Harrison Ford said, "That's him. You have to get him. That's the only choice." So they got him. And as much as it's sad to say he's gone, it's just like he died. I think it was only like 5 or 6 years after this movie came out. He
The
died.
kid did?
Yeah, he died in a stabbing at a bar.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, with his brother Joaquin Phoenix. So yeah, sad. It's tragic,
Yeah.
but this role will forever live in my mind as my favorite of his. So, Indy rappels down from this cliffside after telling Herman to go get the sheriff and Mr. Havelock, their troop leader. So Indy rappels down with on the rope, grabs the cross, and starts climbing back up. He's so full of himself, he thinks he's safe. Steps on a board, it cracks, they all see him, and the chase ensues. So he runs out of the cavern and down the thing, and you can definitely tell at this point that it's Indy when he says, "Everyone's lost but me." He's so full of himself, which is the greatest thing. So he gets on his horse after falling. Very comedic. This movie is hilarious. And there's a chase on the horse with some cars that goes on a huge, beautiful plains of Utah onto a circus train. So he's jumping through these train cars, past giraffes, past a bunch of tied down tents, I assume, and goes into the reptile room. Now, a little bit before this, in the cave, there's a snake, and he just grabs it and he says, "It's just a snake. Nothing to be scared of," and throws it. And if you're a fan of the series, you know that he's terrified of snakes. So you're like, huh? So when he's in the reptile car, and they're chasing him, and the rafter type thing that he's in, I don't know what they would really call it, like the walkway.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
It's not tall enough for a person to walk on, so it
Just
might
a
not even
crawl
be.
space more than
Yeah.
anything.
So he falls into a snake pit, and that's where you get the iconic fear of snakes. He has I think it's like it's not a cobra or anything, but it's like a big snake, like just jumps up at him and hisses at him, and he gets so scared and falls into a pit of more snakes. And then it cuts to the outside of the train car, and you just hear the most iconic scream ever. I love it. It's stuck in my head forever.
It's very wholesome in the fact that it builds so much of his backstory.
In just like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets out of that car, and he's still running, and he gets a snake in his wrist in his scout uniform. Pulls it out, throws it away, and one of the guys finally catches up with him on top of the rhino car. So he falls on the ground, and a little lantern falls down and hits the rhino in the face, which I feel really sad. It probably burned him pretty bad. But so the rhino gets angry and starts putting its horn through the ceiling. And they almost get stabbed, which is interesting.
He's millimeters away from being stabbed.
Yeah, like it's literally like either of them could die. So that fight stops, and they run because that's not, tempting fate. You don't want to tempt fate.
By the way, he pulled the snake out of his
That's not yet.
shirt.
That's not yet.
No, it is because the snake slides out of his arm onto the guy when he's fighting him.
That's not yet. That's later. I'll explain.
Okay.
So he runs away from this guy again and gets to a water tower the train's passing. And he grabs onto the water tower spout and spins around. It plays the most heroic music in the movie, and then it just immediately cuts out, and all the guys are in front of him when he spins around and lands back on the train. This is the point where the guy grabs the cross again, and then the snake comes out of his uniform onto him. He's like, snake, snake. And then he runs away to the magic car. So he gets in the magic car, and there's a box. And the main guy, whose name is Fedora, he sees him get in the box, and he's like, all right, kid, out of the box, now. Turns out the box just breaks apart, and he's not in there. I don't know how this actually would have, like, the explanation, but the guy runs to the back door of the caboose, because that's where the magic truck is, and he sees Indy running across the train tracks home. And, like, he looks out into the distance and says something. I'm not going to say it. It's might be a little too vulgar for this show. And it lingers on this guy forever until he cracks a smile. He is so, like, not proud of this kid, but he is like, man, this kid's got skills.
I would think it almost would border on being proud. Like, I mean, to an extent. Not like father-son proud, but...
Well, it also... So, in this scene, if you've seen the first movie, you know about Marion and her father, who's dead in the first movie. This guy was supposed to be Abner Ravenwood, Marion's father. But they cut it. They cut the name, and they just called him Fedora.
Yeah.
How much more powerful do you think that would be if they would have made that him?
It would have been. I mean,
It's his mentor,
right?
And also gave him the hat. I also missed something. He fell into the lion car. And this is where he gets the whip off the wall. And if you know anything about Harrison Ford in real life, he has a scar on his chin from a car accident he got when he was like 20. And using the whip on this lion, he cuts his lip just like Harrison Ford did in real life. So it'll give you even the smallest detail of his character later on. So he's running across the train tracks, and he gets back to his house. And he's just so excited to show his dad. He's like, Dad, we need to get this taken care of. Come on. And his dad is not having it. You can tell that him and his dad are estranged. There's not really any, like... It's not father-son. It's more like... I wouldn't, like...
It's kind of like one of those...
relationships where you don't feel love, but you know it's your father, so you have to just, be okay with it. I guess. It
almost feels like a step-parent relationship more than an actual, like, this is my father, you know what I mean?
Because in universe, Indy's mother died of a disease when he was young, so him and his father, he took it as his father didn't know because his mom held it from them for so long, and his father is so engrossed in his work that Indy took it as he didn't really care. But we'll get into that more as the plot goes along. So Indy just backs out of the room when he sees that what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. His friend.
Herman,
yes. I keep wanting to call him Sherman.
He does. Someone calls him Sherman at some point.
I think maybe.
Oh, you did. You called him Sherman.
I might have.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Herman comes in and he's blowing his bugle. And I got the sheriff. And the sheriff walks in and Indy's telling him, "Hey, you need to. These 5 or 6 of them stole it. They're trying to, And plot twist: the guys are at the door, and he's like, "Well, I got the rightful owners here, about 5 or 6 of them." And it's devastating to Indy because the item belongs in the museum, So the main guy comes in, Abner Ravenwood, Fedora, whatever you'd like to call him, comes in and gives Indy his iconic hat in this moment and says, "You lost today, kid. Doesn't mean you have to like it." And that's his motivation for the whole thing, which would make it so interesting if it was Abner Ravenwood. So it jump cuts to him on a boat in 1938, 16 years later. And he's on a boat called the Coronado with the same dude who funded the dig for the cross in the first place. A guy whose only name is Panama Hat because of, I guess, his hat. I don't know.
It is an iconic name.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it is. So, and he's 1930s villain. Throw him over the side. Like, talks out of the side of his mouth. That sort of guy. So, Indy's fighting back for this cross, and it's a storm going on. I don't know why they're in the ocean right now in this storm, but Indy gets on a hook and flies across the deck of the ship into the water as a tower falls onto the deck of the ship, causing a huge explosion, killing everybody on board. And Indy gets the cross and takes it home. And it cuts to the college where Indy teaches. He's teaching in class, just like in Raiders. Marcus comes in, played by Denholm Elliott, the late Denholm Elliott. And it's basically just almost shot for shot, word for word, just from Raiders. And it kind of makes sense because Spielberg, after Temple of Doom, kind of wanted to shy away from the more gruesome, dark tones. And so he wanted to go kind of back to basics. So they're talking about this cross, and they're just, doing the whole Marcus and Indy thing. They're really close. They've known each other Indy's entire life because Marcus and his dad are friends. So Indy goes to his office to do some paperwork and meet with students. And so you can tell he doesn't want to meet any of these students. And most of them are not there for actual interest in his work. They're mostly girls interested in him. And so he gets in his office, and it kind of breaks the fourth wall when he looks at the camera, just so like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then it cuts to him jumping out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So he's walking back to his house. We assume it's where he's going is his house. He never makes it there. And guys in suits come up behind him and take him to wealthy businessman Walter Donovan, who Indy kind of knows who this guy is, but kind of not personally, but knows of him by reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they start talking about this tablet, and he says, "Well, I'd like you to translate this tablet for me. See what you think." He already knows what it says. So Indy's reading it, and he finds out it's for the Holy Grail, the cup of Christ, the cup used at the Last Supper. So Indy talks about, well, you should have called my father. He's the expert. He's like, well, we did. He was our team leader, and now he's missing. So that's what sets Indy off on this whole thing. And while he was at the school, he got some mail from Venice with a book in it. He didn't really open it, didn't really have time, just, moved on with his day. So after he gets done with his meeting, he calls Marcus, and they go to his dad's house because he's missing. They want to find out some clues, some leads. So they go to his house, and they find out it's been ransacked, totally destroyed. Every mail open, and they say, well, he's looking for something, and he realizes the book that he got. It's his dad's Grail journal. Everything he's learned for all, I assume it's been like 40 years of work on this thing. And you get the nice scene of Indy looking at the art on his dad's wall of the Grail and all the tasks and stuff, associated with it. And you get that inspirational quote where Marcus says, well, the search for the Grail is a search for the divine in all of us. Pretty powerful stuff. So he tells Marcus he's going to take this trip from Donovan because, his dad's missing. And Marcus says, no, I'm coming with you this time. First time he stayed home. Second time wasn't even mentioned. This time he's coming. So they get on the plane. And right before they get on, Donovan says, don't trust anyone. So they think that they're looking for a Dr. Schneider. They think it's a guy. Turns out it's a girl, played by Alison Doody of James Bond fame. She was a Bond girl.
Hmm.
And most recently, she was in one of the most critically acclaimed movies of last year, and probably even the last decade, RRR.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's like an action movie based like India or something. I haven't seen it either, but it's gotten like 10 out of 10 across the board. Greatest movie of the decade, people have been saying. So she's in that. I haven't seen it, but I want to at some point. Anyway, so she explains where her research with Indy's dad left off because he went missing. She gives them a little piece of paper that has Roman numerals on it. So they're walking towards this library that was a church, and Indy has this really nice, like, blink and you miss it kind of conversation with her about a flower he picks. And it's those small things in this script that really make it feel lived in and make the characters feel like they actually are there and not just acting for the cameras. And so they get to this library, and as you know, in later on in the movie, Elsa kind of like knows a little bit more than she thinks and think the audience thinks. So when they find the Roman numerals on this glass pane, this beautiful stained glass window, he starts to put the pieces together on this paper in the diary, and he tells Marcus, let's keep this diary thing between you and me. We don't need to be putting this out there. So earlier in the film, during his lesson, Indy says that X never marks the spot, which is a setup for this joke where he goes up the stairs, sees the big X on the ground, and says, X marks the spot. So they break open the seal on this catacomb where all these soldiers, I assume, were.
Something
that's
of
where
that sort.
the Grail Knight is.
So there's an old church.
Yeah.
So
catacombs, whatever. So they're down there, and they walk past a carving on the wall of the Ark, and she's like, "What's that?" He's like, "It's the Ark of the Covenant." She's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "I'm pretty sure." It's incredible, but it's also kind of incredible that she doesn't know what this is, considering she knows all about the Grail.
Right.
And they go hand in hand.
Right. I mean, it's also just a complete setup for a callback, but
Yes. But then you get to the rats. Spielberg had these rats bred specifically for the film so that they didn't cause disease and stuff throughout the crew and cast if they got bit or something. So, like, when you think of it, be like, yeah, he has enough money and resources to have people breed rats for his movie.
I mean, if you're Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But still incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going through, and they find the Grail Knight in his coffin, and Indy gets super excited. And Elsa's like, you sound just like your father. He'd love to be here. And Indy says no, he'd never make it through the rats. He's scared to death of them. So it really humanizes. Indy has this fear of snakes, and his dad has rats. So they're kind of one and the same. They're very parallel to each other. So during this, Marcus gets knocked out by these men that come down the stairs. And they come down into the catacombs and light a match where there's oil on the ground because they found a natural spring of oil. And Indy says, well, I could just retire down here and put a pipeline or something. And so there's fire starts. They have to knock over the Grail coffin and get into the air duct and find a way out. So they find their way out, and it's so funny. They come out of these sewers in the middle of a dinner or a lunch. Everybody there is just so blown away, but like, there's people coming out of the sewers.
Right.
It's just incredible. And then an amazing in-camera boat chase starts. And like, this is all real. They actually drove these boats, and all of it was real. So they're doing this boat chase, and it ends up at this one huge propeller where Indy and this one of the main guy from the people who knocked out Marcus they're fighting, and he says, well, you'll die if you don't tell me where my dad is. And he says, well, I'm prepared. Are you? So he decides, well, I'm not going to kill this guy. So he puts him in the boat, and they take him, and then he reveals that his name is Kazim, Kazim. So I don't know how you'd really pronounce that, but he's part of the Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword, a group of men who are their sole job is to protect the Grail and its location and anything that is about it. So he realizes that Indy's not looking for the Grail for himself or his father or anybody. He just wants his dad. So he tells him where his dad's been hiding. I don't know how he knew that. Where his dad's been like kidnapped to. He doesn't really explain it, but if he's part of this brotherhood, then he probably knows.
That's true. Well, he also has ties with the one leader who also has ties with the Nazis, which is who are holding his dad at that point in time.
At Castle Brunwald.
Yeah. So I mean, that might be how they connected it in universe. But
so, Indy goes back to show all the stuff to Marcus after they find that he's okay. And they discover that the city with no names, the map with no names to the unmarked city, is Alexandretta, Iskandarin, same place. So, Indy goes to tell Elsa, sorry. I was saying her real name. So he goes to Elsa and finds that her room has been destroyed along with his. And then he finds her in the bathroom, and they have a romantic fight, makeout session. It's kind of weird, but, you know.
It's pretty up to par for Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he's a womanizer.
Right, what do you expect?
Yeah. And so he shows her, like, this is what they were looking for, the diary. So she's like, you had it and you didn't tell me? He's like, well, I didn't know I could trust you. Big, like, words, you know. So they go to the Castle Brunwald. And the original idea for an Indiana Jones film was a haunted castle. And Lucas wanted it so bad. But Spielberg just got off of doing Poltergeist, I believe. And he didn't want to do ghosts. He's no, I'm done with them right now. I don't want to do that.
That's
so
fair.
The closest we get to an Indiana Jones ghost story is this castle. So they go in, and Harrison Ford can show his acting chops by acting like a Scottish lord.
It's fabulous
acting. It's so funny. The butler guy says, "If you're a Scottish lord, then I'm Mickey Mouse." And he punches him in the face. It's so funny. But so, Indy walks through the building the castle looking for his father, what room he's in. And Elsa's like, well, how do you know which room it is? And he points up to the door frame. Well, they don't wire the doors you want to go in. Like, they don't, So, he can't get in, so he has to go through a window. So he opens a window and swings across a telephone wire or something into the window that his dad's in. His dad comes up behind him and smacks him with a vase. He's like, "Oh, Junior, it's you." And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, let's get out of here." And his dad's looking at the vase. He's like, "It's a fake." And throws it on the ground, and that alerts the Nazis. So they have this really great back and forth when the Nazis come in. They're like, I came here to save you. Now who's going to save you, Junior? It's like, I told you, don't call me that. He starts killing the people. His dad's like, look what I can't believe what you've done. Mm. So they start escaping, and they get to the room where Elsa is, and she's being held by Colonel Vogel. I don't actually remember his name, his actor's name. I haven't had that to memory, but
I don't know.
He's not in many things that you've seen. I don't even remember. Don't know of anything else he's been in.
He's a Nazi.
Yeah, in the movie. Okay. So, at this point, he's threatening to kill Elsa, and Indy's dad says he won't. She's with him. He's not going to do it. And Indy falls for it. Hook, line, and sinker. And she is, in fact, along with the Nazis. And they walk, and he's totally taken away by it. She steals the notebook from him and gives it to Colonel Vogel. And there's a great quote later on when, or it might have been earlier, when he says that he should have sent it to the Marx Brothers. Now, when I was a kid, I thought the Marx Brothers were just like another two people that were like archaeologists. No, it's actually like a comedy duo from the 30s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like it was a joke. I should have sent it to those goofballs.
Right.
So they get into this room. It's like a, I don't know what you'd call it in the castle. It's
like a dining room sort of thing going on.
It's got fireplaces on both sides, I think.
I only remember it on one side, but that
Might have been.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I think it was just the one side.
Okay. Well, no, because the other side was just the door that went around. The fireplace was on the other side.
I thought that was the fireplace.
The fireplace was the door that went around.
But there were two, because one was on fire and the other one wasn't. That's how they got the door to turn.
Oh, yeah, then there was two, because the one that was closest to them was the one that was on fire. The one that was furthest away was the one that was
Turnable.
the door.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway. So there's a big chair with like the biggest back on a chair I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god. Comfy.
Mm-hmm. And Indy looks at his dad and says, "How'd you know she was a Nazi?" He's like, "She talks in her sleep." And he's like, he puts it together that they slept together.
Mm-hmm.
Both her and his father, and him and her. Very awkward. And also, I believe that Sean Connery ad-libbed the "she talks in her sleep."
I could see that from him. Yeah.
So, and they're talking about like how he didn't know she was a Nazi, and you hear a voice, "You didn't take my advice." Turns out the bad guy of this movie is Walter Donovan. And he told him, "Don't trust anybody. I told you." Now, before I go any farther, I want to know from Kenny, this is your first time seeing it. Did you think that he was the villain the first time you saw him? Or did you think that he was going to be an actual good person? Did that twist have an effect on you?
Not really, because going back to like previous Indiana Jones movies, I kind of like figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not like right away, but it took me like some like piecing together, especially when he said, "Don't trust anyone."
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so I'm not going to trust you. Obviously, everyone's just going to trust Indy, obviously, because,
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we trust him?
He's
And
Indy.
Exactly. So immediately you start questioning, okay, can he trust Elsa? Probably not,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe.
Especially with the last name of Schneider. So, I mean,
yeah.
that
But also,
especially-
she was his dad's assistant, so he kind of probably had that. And
oh,
she
right,
was
right.
a beautiful woman, so he's gonna fall for that no matter what.
Right, exactly. So I kind of expected him to maybe have a role in being the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Antagonist.
Antagonist,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
See, I know what I want to say. It's just I don't say it right, okay? Alfred Hitchcock. I got it.
There you go. It always comes back to Alfred Hitchcock.
So Walter Donovan, I didn't say it earlier, played by Julian Glover. He was Admiral Veers in Star Wars Episode 5
Yeah.
on Hoth. He was the lead person on the AT-ATs. And in that movie, fun fact, he didn't actually die. He got pulled away. And he survived throughout the rest of...
Is that from a comic book?
I think it's from like a normal book.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But anyway, he makes it out in this movie. So they tie him up, and before they tie him up, Indy has this great thing about, well, Marcus has a 2-day head start on you. He knows everything back and forth. He knows 12 different languages. He has friends in every city from here to Sudan. By any luck, he's got the Grail already.
And he's going to blend in with everyone.
Yeah, he'll blend in, disappear, and you'll never see him again.
Exactly.
It cuts to Marcus, and he's just like, "Does anyone speak English here? Maybe even ancient Greek?"
Walking through just a crowd of people that, one, look nothing like him, two, are wearing nothing like what he's wearing.
And
And 3, he stands out like a sore thumb.
Oh, yeah.
they even say that Brody sticks out like a sore thumb. We'll find him.
Yes, later. Yeah,
The
later.
heck you will. So then Sala, played by John Rhys Davies, he's also Gimli in Lord of the Rings, and he's in something else that's very popular, but I don't remember at this moment. But anyway, he sees him and he's super excited. He's like, Marcus, I know you. You're great. Let's find this thing. So they're walking across this like desert, and they're talking about what information they have because you can trust Sala. He's from the first movie, one of Indy's best friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts telling them this stuff, and these people come up and say, "Oh, Marcus Brody, we have a car for you to go to the museum." Sala's like, "There is no museum in Iskandrin," and the guy turns around and says, "Papers, please." And Sala's like, "Yeah, I got the new one just this morning. Run." What? Yeah, it's English Post. Run. Did you say run? And shoots punch the guy in the face. And they start running. And he's like, hide behind this door. Hide behind this door. And he gets in the door, and I don't know how this even makes sense, but a truck is the door. And it closes.
Of course.
Takes him away.
That's always the answer.
Truck is the
that's
door.
always the answer. Like,
Trucks are doors.
I need to.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I see. All right, so Sala is sad. Obviously, he's failed. So it cuts back to them in the castle, tied up, and Elsa kisses Indy in one of the most weirdest kisses I've seen in a while, but definitely like not ugly kisses. I don't know. It's weird, but also not. Anyway, she says in his ear, "What we had was great." And Indy's dad's like, "It was."
Sean Connery deserves some sort of award for just the actual comedy that he provides to this entire movie.
And all of his lines were basically written for him in his accent, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of sh,
Right.
sh sounds. So,
Yes.
Sean Connery.
so, and also, before we even go on, Sean Connery playing Indy's father, James Bond. The only person that Indy could be lower than is James Bond in terms of cool factor.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
it's the only option you had for his dad. So they're tied up, and Colonel Vogel comes in and punches Indy in the face, and they're like, "Well, I like the Austrian way better." So
Well, that's because Elsa said this is how
Austrians say goodbye.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Kisses Indy.
Then
And
Vogel comes in.
Then Vogel comes in and it's like, this is how
what we
Germans say goodbye.
Yeah.
And then punches Indy. And the recoil then,
Punches his dad too.
like his head, Indy's head hits his dad's head in
Mhm.
the back. It's like, dang.
Perfect comedy too.
Had to be one heck of a punch, by the way, to do that.
Mm-hmm. And so Indy says, "Hey, Dad, grab the lighter from in my pocket," after they leave. And they say they can't kill him because they don't have the map yet in case Marcus does blend in, disappear, and you never see him again. So Indy's like, "Grab my lighter. It's my lucky charm." And it has a clover on it. So Indy's dad, being the most bumbling buffoon type guy, burns his thumb on the lighter, drops it on the floor, and catches the whole room on fire. He's like, "Did you get it yet?" He's like, "Son, the floor's on fire. And the walls."
Well, it's like, when he drops it, he tries to pick it up. He tries to, like,
He's kicking it.
he's trying to get it back over with
And
his
he goes,
foot.
and he starts blowing
And
on
then
it.
he starts trying to blow. It's like, what are you doing?
What do you
What are you doing, Sean? What are you doing?
And he's like, "Oh, there's the floor and the walls." And they're like, "Get to the fireplace." So they just like pushing their way into the fireplace that's not on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they're scooting, and their leg of their chair hits a button that turns the wall in a secret passage, and it goes, and you see them turn all the way back around, and they're like, "Okay." So they do it again, and then they stop, and the lady turns and smiles at them, and they smile. It's the funniest thing. And there's a whole gag of them like tricking these people into running into a fire room.
Mm-hmm.
So they get out of this, and they get out of the chairs. While this is happening, they get word that, yeah, they got Marcus. They got the map. They can kill Indy and his father. But this is all happening at the same exact time. So they're running away from these people because now they know that they're alive, you know. So they get to this room, and they're looking for a secret passage, secret exit. And Henry, I'm going to call him Henry from now on, Indy's father,
Mm-hmm.
sits in this chair and says, well, I think if I just sit down and relax, the situation presents itself. Yeah.
Hmm.
The solution presents itself. And Indy, I don't know how he lives through this. He falls backwards onto a stair, like a solid stone stair, and then keeps tumbling.
It would have to be very, very painful. Like,
Even with a leather jacket on like that, you're not that much protection. But it's a movie, so then they get down to this harbor type thing where there's these boats. Indy gets on this boat and unties it. His dad throws him a suitcase. He's like, "No!" He's like, "What about the boat?" So then Vogel gets down there and he sees the boat and he's like, "All right, get on the boats." And the guys start going, and then they shoot out of a box on a motorcycle.
which it makes no physical sense how they got into the box.
Yeah, unless like they're like, "Hold on," and then they pull it back up.
Yeah, like the way the box opens, there's actually no way they could have pulled it off unless someone nailed them in there while they were in there. But it's okay because
unless they opened it and then we're like, "Hold on," and they lifted the box up from the inside to like just have it sit there. And then push it.
But even then, that's
It's movie logic, and but it plays for the joke, and it's funny.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It's delivered very well, so it's okay. If it was delivered poorly, it would have been like one of the worst things.
Plot holes or something. Yeah.
Or there could be an opening on the other side.
That's fair. It could.
A box that
Is open on the other side, but not the other side. They opened it from the wrong end or something.
Maybe that's where they park it.
back in the box.
In the box.
Isn't that where you put your Funko Pops after you play with them? You put them back in the box for posterity.
Yes. I don't know who keeps making the squeaking noise, but you better stop.
I don't even know what that squeaking noise
It's
is.
very. I don't know if it's prevalent on the recording, but
It's the table.
oh, okay, gotcha.
Let's not hit that part of the table again. So, the bike chase ensues,
Mm-hmm.
and Indy's killing all these guys on these bikes, and his dad is not having any of it.
He's very upset.
He's not even proud or impressed at all. Impressed, that's the word I was looking for earlier on the train when the guy smiles. Impressed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Indy javelins this one dude off of his bike.
Which is just horrifying to think about.
Yeah.
The flagpole stuck in you, and
Well, I don't think it goes through him. I think it just like kicks him off the bike.
Still, though, that's so painful.
Yeah,
Like
100%. No, I'm
blunt
not
force
downplaying
trauma,
the pain.
yeah.
It's just he probably didn't die that fast, if at all. And so the last guy on the bike comes up next to him, and if you ever put like playing cards in your spokes of your tires, this is like for like real men. You put a pole through it and it explodes the bike. And Indy's laughing, and he looks at his dad and is just like, "Oh, you hate this? Oh, okay. I'll stop." He's like, he just turns around and he's just like, "All right, we're going." So they get to this like fork in the road.
Crossroad.
Yeah. And one side says Venice, and one side says Berlin. Indy's going to Venice because that's where they need to go. And his dad says, "No, you're going to Berlin because that's where the book is." And he's like, "Well, what's so special about the stupid book?" And so they have a really good heart-to-heart moment where he's explaining what is so important about this book. And Indy has a moment where he says, "Jesus Christ," and his father smacks him in the face and says, "That's for blasphemy." One of the greatest Sean Connery quotes. Like I was saying, it's probably written for his accent.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a semi heart-to-heart moment about his mother and how she kept the disease from his dad for the entire time. So he convinces Indy to go to Berlin to get the book, and it cuts to a Nazi book burning.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact for almost every single military Nazi member in this movie is an actual Nazi uniform. Straight out of real World War II. So they're at this book burning, and Indy goes and sees Elsa because she's there. He steals the book back, and he's like, I can kill you right now. And she's like, "But you care too much," basically.
Mm.
So he lets her go, and as he's leaving with his dad, he gets rushed by a bunch of Nazi fanboys.
Yeah, basically.
And lo and behold, Hitler is signing books through this crowd.
Which is so funny that he's signing books at a book burning. He doesn't even try to know what the book is that he's signing.
Exactly, because he gets the Grail Diary in his hand, the one thing that he's searching for. And he's so vain and stupid that he has what he needs in his hand and just thinks it's an autograph for a guy. It's incredible. So they get out of that, and they go to the airport, and they get the first flight out of Berlin on a Zeppelin.
I love the Zeppelin in this movie. It's
the
so
shot
cool.
of them coming around the corner and it being outside. Beautiful. So they get in, and Indy's like, "Yep, we're home free." You're not. Don't say that. That's just asking for trouble. So they look out the window, and there's Vogel and Pat Roach, the actor, standing next to him. He is the same guy who gets his head cut up in the propeller in Raiders, the same guy who gets steamrolled in Temple of Doom, and he was going to be having a fight scene in this movie, but they got cut. And so then in the meantime, between Vogel getting on the ship, that's what they call them, ships, Zeppelins, ships, airships.
Sure, airship. Yeah.
I believe that's what they call them, though.
Go ahead.
So in this time, Indy gets a waiter's uniform, and that's where he was going to fight the Pat Roach character. He was going to fight him in that moment, and that's how he got the
I think there's a deleted
costume.
scene for that, isn't there?
I think it's deleted pictures.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen the real scene or anything, but it might be
I feel
there.
like I've seen there's a scene where he fights on the blimp. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter.
But so Vogel gets on there, and he's looking at all the people, and he sees Indy's father, and he's like, he got you. And Indy's going around saying, tickets, please, to all these people. He says, tickets, please, to Vogel. He turns around, sees it's him, punches him out of the window of the Zeppelin. And then it's one of the best comedic jokes in the whole movie. No ticket. And everybody on the plane just starts, I got it, I got one, I'm right here, please, don't throw me off. So, then they're sitting together talking about their next plan to, what these Grail tests are. And they have a really, really heart-to-heart moment about their relationship. And this is what I think finally almost 100% nails down that they're totally father and son relationship now instead of father and son estranged.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost perfect. There's one more scene later on that nails it down 100%. So they're talking, and in this scene, fun fact, Harrison Ford and Sean Connery aren't wearing pants.
That's awesome.
Sean Connery he did. He's passed. So sad. He has a condition where he sweats a lot, and it was the dead of summer when they were filming this, so he decided to do the scene without pants. And Harrison Ford just was like, I guess, and they're just wearing boxers underneath, because the way it's shot, they only show from the table up.
That's an epic move, by the way.
It really is, though.
Yes. So they are talking about Indy's childhood and how he wishes he was more like the other guy's dads, normal. And another great Sean Connery quote for this movie, I taught you self-reliance. And he's like, well, I learned it so well that we haven't even spoken in almost 20 years. And that's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm here now. What do you want to talk about? I have no. Then what are you complaining about? We got work to do. So they start talking about the plan, and it cuts to a nice shot of the table and the shadows just shifting in a different direction to show that the Zeppelin is turning around. And they're going back to Germany to, drop off Indy and his dad. So they go to this plane underneath the Zeppelin, and Indy's dad says, I didn't know you could fly a plane. Fly? Yes. Land? No. Which is kind of a callback to Temple of Doom, where he gets on the plane after the the Chinese. I think they're Chinese. They ditch him, and the plane's supposed to crash and kill Indy. So in that movie, Willie, the girl of the movie, asks Indy, "Do you know how to fly a plane?" He's like, "No, do you?" So a fun fact I like to think is like in between that movie in 1932 and this one in 1938, he learned how to fly a plane.
At some point, yeah.
But
Right.
also, Harrison Ford is a pilot
Mm-hmm.
himself, and he's also had a terrible plane crash.
Multiple.
Yeah, so he said, land, no. That might be an inside joke, but I don't know if he had any crashes before 1989. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. He really only became a pilot after he kind of got done with Jones and Star Wars and all that.
That's the
for
part
the
of
most part.
that's the part of his life that I'm not really
Mm.
too versed in. So anyway, they're flying, and some Nazi bomber jets.
I don't really know what planes they are.
'Cause they
look
have
like
bombs
some weird
underneath them.
Stuka like variants. I don't know, but
They're like fighter jets, I guess.
Mm.
And they have bombs. I don't know which one it is. If anyone has any any knowledge of this, please let us know.
Aiden would be your guy.
Yes, and
I
he's
think
not
it's
here
I
today.
think it's a Stuka. Like they're dive bombers,
Mhm.
but they look different. Maybe it's just a later model. Who knows?
Maybe.
Aiden, if you're listening, please hit us up.
He's not.
Wait till you get a
Maybe.
notification on your
Hey.
phone.
He better be.
Hey, you never know.
That's fair.
But continue.
All right, back to the plot. So, Indy tells his dad when the planes start flying around, 11 o'clock, shoot him. And he's like, he pulls out his pocket watch. He's like, what happens at 11 o'clock? He's like, 12, 11, 10, 11 o'clock, fire. So he starts manning this gun and shooting at these planes. And as he's doing it, he spins around to the back of the tail of the plane and shoots the tail. And they start about ready to crash. And he's like, did they get us? Did they get us? He's like, son, I'm sorry. They got us.
That's actually probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. Also, a fun fact: the Lego that went along with the Sky Chase, Sky Fight, whatever they called it, had a sticker where you could flip the tail and it would be damaged compared to not damaged.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it was
I never
actually
had that one as a kid, but I did want it.
it was really cool. But
Interesting.
that's my fun fact.
Cool. So, this plane crashes at this goat farm. He has like 30 or 40 goats at this farm.
Dude, I think there's more goats in that pin than 30 or 40. There was a lot of goats in that pin.
And so, it's just this movie has so many jokes that they just all land back to back to back. So this guy is fixing his car, putting hubcaps on. And he's about ready to put the last hubcap on, and they peel away on the car, chased by this plane in one of the most iconic shots ever. Like,
You know where the horizon was at? You know where the horizon was at on that shot too?
it was at a very interesting location.
The bottom.
Yep.
Mhm.
So when I was a kid, I had planes and I had cars, and I would recreate this scene all the time. As a kid, all the time. So for some reason, this pilot is an idiot, and they go into this tunnel, and the pilot goes into the tunnel too, and it's a car tunnel, not a plane tunnel, and the wings just explode off the side.
Yeah, that's like the one spot of the movie that I can't explain, because what like self-respecting aviator like knows? You clearly know there's a mountain there if there's a tunnel. Like it's not just like there's just a random tunnel in the middle of
You
nowhere.
can just go around it.
Right. Like, but he decides to just turn into it, and it rightfully, honestly, should have blown up on impact, like any other spot, right? But he somehow glides through the tunnel and then explodes later anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the comedic effect of him sliding past is
and
pretty
looking
hilarious.
at them and being like, "Oh, hey, bye."
And it's like, oh, yeah, you guys, but wait, oh.
What about me?
Oh, you guys. But and then it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah. So, I guess I would attest it to idiot Nazis. I guess,
Stupid Illinois Nazis.
No, German Nazis. The real evil. Spielberg is Jewish, as we found out in The Fabelmans. Well, I knew this, but...
You should watch a review of The Fabelmans.
Yes.
Yes.
Link in the description.
And watch the movie, too.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it was a pretty great movie. Anyways.
And so, it probably was really cathartic for Spielberg to just, like, destroy these Nazis at any chance he gets. And he destroys them in some pretty nasty ways.
Oh, yeah.
So they get out of this tunnel, and they're like, we're home free. And then a bomb drops right in front of the car and makes a huge crater, and the car crashes. And
But
like,
it doesn't hurt them.
no, not at all. It looks like it. There's
Mhm.
dummies or something in the car, and they look like they've been destroyed.
Mm-hmm. But then good old Sean Connery
Just gets
pops
yeah,
right up.
right away. Gets out, and they start, and he's like just living his best life. He's just chilling, and he's like, they're coming back. So they run down onto this beach, where Indy pulls out his gun to shoot this pilot. I guess I don't know how he expected that this would even work, but he has no bullets. He's like, we're gonna die. So his dad then throws his suitcase on him and pulls out an umbrella. And there's seagulls on the beach. They weren't actually seagulls because you can't train seagulls to actually act, so they had doves. And a lot of the birds sitting on the thing were just plastic seagulls. So yeah. So then Sean Connery takes out his umbrella and starts acting like a chicken and making these birds fly into this plane in one of the most creative kills.
Yeah, it's very creative.
Yeah. And Indy is just so impressed. He's
Because
like,
they kill a lot of birds. Like,
Mhm.
it's not just like, oh, one or two get caught in the engine. No,
It's
it's
like
like the
if
whole
you're
plane is
blinded.
covered in birds.
Birds,
Like
yeah.
guts, feathers, all this stuff.
but you don't see any of that blood. This is a very tame movie. This is not Temple of Doom. No hearts get ripped out. No kids get tortured. Pretty safe for the family. Anyway. So, in this moment, or right before it, Sean Connery says, they're trying to kill us. He's like, I know, Dad. Happens all the time. So then, after they've killed this pilot, the birds did. Indy is so impressed with his dad. He's like, did my dad really just do this? And like, he didn't expect this from his dad. And it's a sign of respect between both of them in this moment. And at this point, I think it cuts to Haiti, right?
That's where the Nazis are working with the
Yeah, the Haitian government.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Donovan,
It's not Haiti. Like, it's not like the
It is.
the island. No, it's Haytay, right? Because Haiti is Haiti. That's a completely
Is
different place
Tay.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Either way, it's not.
It's
Haiti.
not Haiti.
No.
oh okay,
Yeah. This is like some like Middle Eastern
I see.
republic.
I always took it as Haiti, and that was just how you spelled it.
No.
Because I had never heard of.
Because I think Haiti's an
Hatay.
island.
Yeah, Haiti is an island. It's also with the Dominican Republic.
There you
I
go.
see.
Haiti. Yeah, because that would mean that they would have to have traveled from Germany
Yeah.
all the way to the Caribbean
Yeah.
and then all the way back to Africa
well.
or Northern Africa, whatever
Yeah,
you want to say. But
So
Haiti.
I didn't even know this was a place. Now I'm learning things on this podcast too.
I don't know if it's an actual place, but
It probably is. They don't really.
Or was a place.
Yeah, it might have a different name now. You know how wars work. World War II hasn't even broken out yet, so. So they're talking to this king or whatever, or ruler, president. I don't know what they would call him. Your Highness, they say sometimes.
dictator of some sort.
Yeah,
Probably why they get along with the Nazis.
Yeah, evil. Yeah. So they're giving him all of these jewels, and he's not interested. But he sees this Rolls Royce, and he knows the engine, he knows everything about it and how fast it can go. And he says, I even like the color. And you get one of my favorite jokes where he's like, you'll have men, you will have horses, you will have vehicles, and you will have tanks. And Donovan says, you're welcome. Thinking he said, and thanks. It's pretty funny if you...
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that either.
It's one of those catch it on a separate viewing. So that happens, and they get to this point, and then Indy and his father meet up with Sala in Iskandarin. And they're driving his brother-in-law's car, and then the cuts to the Canyon of the Crescent Moon, where all of the Nazis are, and they bring a tank around. And Indy's with binoculars at this cliffside looking at these things. Wow, they got a 10-pound gun over there. His dad's like, you get out of there, you're gonna get killed. He's like, oh, we're totally out of range. And they shoot the cannon, and it blows up Salah's brother-in-law's car, and he is broken up.
The best part is from where they were, it actually would probably be so hard to hit that car.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Oh, yeah.
but it's great.
It's
for the movie.
hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And so Marcus is inside this tank too. I don't know if that was revealed yet or not. No,
He's in the car.
He's in the car at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so Indy is about to get captured. They know where he is. Until Kazim and the Brotherhood of Cruciform Sword come in and start shooting up the Nazis from this. He was also in Hatay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever city it
Yeah.
was, whatever
Mhm.
country. He was there.
They do a really bad job of it, too. Like, I don't know how many Nazis they killed, but they definitely
Didn't kill
suffer
enough.
massive casualties.
Yeah, but there wasn't that many
No.
to begin with. But
I thought they'd be a little bit more effective, though. And they just weren't.
no, but his death is very sad because his death gulp is very pronounced, and Elsa's there and she knows him.
Mm.
She feels guilty for this.
Right. He knows where he's going, though, he said. So.
Yeah.
It is
He
true.
said he's ready. His soul's prepared.
Mm.
He can't be anything better than that. So, in this whole mess, Indy leaves and he's like, "Well, we gotta go get some horses. No camels." To Salah. Indy gets 4 horses. Salah gets 5 camels. I said, "No camels. That's 5 camels. Can't you count?" He's like, "Well, they're for my brother-in-law's car in compensation." I don't know how 5 camels makes up a vehicle.
Also, the camels totally get lost later on.
Yeah, you never see
through
them
that
again.
tank thing. There's just no camels. I'm assuming he just didn't get them.
Or just, left them be. Well, I mean, there's a lot of action scene that happens here. So, at this point, Indy takes... Marcus goes inside the tank after the Brotherhood attacks. They put Marcus in the tank for safety, I guess. I don't know why they'd care about his safety, but...
Well, it's because Indy's there, right? I think they're just trying to protect him more as an asset. That's what I
guess.
interpreted it
I mean,
as.
it could go either way.
Mm.
So Marcus is in the tank. Indy takes his horse down there and puts his dad in the tank too to get Marcus. And then Vogel is also there. And he's like, well, it's a mission. It's a rescue. And then, nope, they're also there.
Right.
So now Marcus and Henry are both stuck in the tank. And then Indy has this amazing action scene with the tank where he's riding this majestic black horse. And it looks so beautiful on screen. They're shooting the tank gun into these mountains and having huge explosions. It's great. So then they lose all sense of their care. They're very reckless, and they start shooting at him.
Mm.
And they get to a point where a car drives on top of gets flipped over onto the main gun of the tank, and you see some guy's arm out of the door trying to find the handle. He's like, and so Vogel inside the tank looks at the guy driving because it's not a German guy; it's part of the Republic of Hatay people. That's why I thought it was Haiti, because you call it the Republic of Haiti.
Yeah.
That's
it
why
just makes no geological sense for it to
no
be
after
Haiti.
I think about it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Maybe it is Hatay. I don't know.
we'll figure it out.
Mhm.
If anyone else knows, you can let us know as well.
Yeah. Email us with angry emails.
Please. Anything more about this movie I need to know. Anyway. So where was I? Oh, okay.
Tank
So
scene.
yeah, so he tells the guy to shoot the car off of the tank. I really hope that guy got out, otherwise he died very painfully.
Rip car guy.
Yeah,
For sure, rip car guy.
Unless he got out he found the handle in time.
The door would have been open because he couldn't
Maybe.
have shut it.
Rest in peace, car guy.
Yeah, he's dead.
And so Indy's on this tank after riding his horse up on this thing and jumping onto the tank. And I believe he did that himself. He did most of the stunts in this movie on his own because Harrison Ford's just that guy.
Well, Harrison Ford is just
That guy.
An absolute unit.
The only scene, I believe, in the whole series that he didn't do in the original trilogy is the fight on the roller in Temple of Doom because he was injured or sick at the time. He hurt his back really bad, and he had to go and do experimental like leaf treatment. So they had this stunt double film all the scenes in Temple of Doom in that fight scene, and then just reinserted Harrison Ford with like close-up shots later on after it was finished. If you pay attention to that movie, for all that fighting scene, you kind of like see the guy covering his face, and because it's a stunt double.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So he gets on this tank, and like 6 guys stand up in front of him, and he takes this gun and he just shoots through all 6 guys. 1 bullet. That's it.
Yeah, he kind of hits a massive like
Kill streak.
Yeah, it's a nice kill streak.
Yeah. So he looks at the gun. It's just like, what? And then there's just a fight on top of the tank between Indy, Vogel, and like 3 other guys. Indy pushes one guy and he goes on the treads and just gets crushed by the treads.
I was happy there wasn't any like bone crushing noise.
Yeah.
Because I've watched Band of Brothers, totally off topic, but there's a scene in that where the guy gets crushed by a tank and you just hear the crush, like it's just like as he's like screaming.
I do not want to hear that.
Yeah. So
it's a good thing they didn't do that. So Indy falls onto the one of the turrets on the tank, which he had previously exploded with a rock. He put a rock in there and then it blew up inside, and that's why Vogel got out of the tank to fight him. So back on that. So he's hanging by his satchel. He's just like, come on, let go. And then also at the same time inside the tank, Marcus and Henry are fighting this guy with a pen. And he inks the guy in the face, and I guess it's poison. Knocks him out.
Well, no, you see him fight again.
Yeah, knocks him out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how.
I mean, you got ink in your eye. I feel like anything,
I don't see
anything
how,
in your eye, I
don't see how that's instant knockout.
I mean,
it could have been in the 30s.
You don't like touching your eye, right? That's why you
No.
wear glasses. So, I mean,
That's fair.
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, or maybe ink back then was more potent.
Toxic.
Well, it probably had lead in it.
Yeah, it probably did. Yeah.
So anyway, this guy faints or gets knocked out or whatever. And then he gets up later, and I guess, no, there's another guy who, Indy gets his face put on the scope of the tank, and they're making a joke about it, and then Indy kicks the scope on the from outside, and it knocks the guy into the other guy, and it knocks him down, and he shoots, and the bullet ricochets around, kills the main driver of the tank.
Just in time.
Yeah, and he falls forward onto the lever. Very, very, that's not circumstantial, convenient.
Oh, yes.
Very conveniently, right on the lever that would turn the tank away from the cliffside.
Mm.
And it plays the Indiana Jones theme, and he's back on the tank fighting Vogel. And then in this tank fight, the music is John Williams' best that I think he's ever done. I know some people disagree, but this specific song...
let's just say it's your favorite.
Yes, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
This specific song, I think it's called In the Belly of the Beast.
That makes sense because that's what they call it.
Yeah. And that Steel Beast.
Yeah.
That's all it says. So, they see a cliff over the edge, and Marcus is on the edge of the tank. He's like, how does one get off this thing? And he just like elbows him backwards off the tank. And Henry's like, where's Marcus? So Sala comes up on his horse. I don't know where the camels went. You were right. They're gone.
Maybe he tied him up somewhere.
And then they went back after everything was done.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in Dial of Destiny what happened to these camels.
There you go.
He isn't the new one.
It's the first scene we see is what happened to the camels.
Him just walking back with camels.
That would be cathartic. Anyway, so Vogel or somebody punches Henry onto the treads of the tank, and Indy whips him to hold him onto the tank, and the treads on his back, that has to hurt. That has to burn. So Sala grabs him and takes him off, and him and Marcus and Henry are all good. They're all safe. So Indy's punching the living daylights out of this Vogel guy, smacking his head down on the tank.
Mm-hmm.
He lifts his head up. He's got like blood pouring from his nose, and they go off the edge of the cliff. And it has one of the best death screams ever from Vogel. When the tank hits the ground, it's a miniature. And it's just a little action figure guy just attached to the tank. It's so funny. And this is the scene I was talking about that really solidifies that Indy and his dad have reconciled all their differences.
Yeah, I think it's what you're talking about.
When he's like, he's dead. I did so many things I didn't tell him. Like, he didn't tell him he loved him. Probably. And Indy just like crawls up on a vine, and then he comes up behind him and is like, huh, what's down there? It's like...
Peeks over the edge a little bit.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I did that.
It's like, I love the way he climbs up the vine, but it's like it's not even close to where everyone else is. Then he just kind of like sneaks up the back, and he's like, oh, what's down there? What are y'all looking at down here? Oh, you're all looking for me, huh?
Cut away to Urkel. Did I do that?
But I noticed how like the Henry looks over like once.
Mm-hmm. It does double take.
Like looks back down, and it's like,
wait
a second.
Yeah. And before this, right before the tank goes off the edge, this is the first and only time I believe that Indy loses his hat in an action scene.
That's right.
He never loses it. He's like, it's fallen off his head, and he like grabs it through a door a few times. Like, that's a running joke. But in the big action scene of the movie, he never loses his hat. But this time, it was the Last Crusade. It's the name of the movie. There's the planned last entry in the series. So this was the whole, anyone can die. Even Indy. His hat doesn't even make it through this. But he hugs his father, and he's like, well, let's get going. Indy just falls to the ground. He's beat up.
Mm-hmm.
He is like, I'm going to take a break, and his hat just rolls right in.
Rolls right in, right next to him.
Very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
But I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, it's iconic.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. It was so not scripted.
Mm-hmm. So, it probably was scripted, but yes.
I know it was scripted. That was sarcasm.
I picked up on it. Yeah.
Thank
Your
you.
sarcasm is lost on me.
Anyways, we're to the Crescent Moon.
Yes. This is through the canyon of the Crescent Moon into where the Grail Temple is. And in real life, it's the Petra famous carving built it right into the side of a wall, side of a cliffside. And it's just one of the most, it's one of the wonders, not the wonders of the world, but it's like, if you go anywhere in the Middle East, that's like the biggest tourist destination ever. Other than like the pyramids and the Sphinx, in Egypt. But, so they go into this thing and they're spying on the Nazis, and they're in there sending volunteers to go through these tests, because I guess they know there's tests. I don't know how they knew this, because Indy's father only tells Indy about this.
Don't they have the diary at this point, though?
No, because Indy took it back from Elsa.
Oh, that's right. Maybe Elsa read it.
Maybe. Or maybe Henry just told her, because they were working together earlier, and he knew this from the very beginning.
True.
So they're looking, and then you just see a gun. And Marcus is just like, me? Over there? Like, yeah. So he's pushing. And you see him walk, and then you see Indy and everyone go like, what are you doing? Oh. See all the guns. So they get up there, and Marcus and Indy and Sala and Henry are all just in a line, and all the Nazis are in a line, and Elsa is in the center. That is powerful, because you can tell she doesn't believe in one side or the other. Mm-hmm. She's dead center on her morals. She'll do whatever she has to get whatever she has to do to get the Grail. Right. She says earlier in the castle, she'll do whatever she needs to, and Indy will do the same. And he says, I'm sorry you think so. Mm-hmm. So it's powerful structure of her being dead center, and then Donovan reeling her back into the side. Mm-hmm. And he says, give him some space. He's going to retrieve the Grail for us. And he's like, no, I'm not. You can't make me. And he's like, you're right. Shoots his dad. Henry's dying actively right now. The only thing that can save him now is the healing power of the Grail. So Indy goes and he does all of these tasks. The first one is the Path of God, I believe. I believe that's what it is.
That's the one where you have to kneel before God, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like you're
But there's titles. I totally forgot what the titles.
It's like you're praying. I know that.
Yeah.
Like that's what the whole point is. That's one that also has a weird thing because you have to roll forward while you pray.
Yeah. During this, he is like reading through the Grail Diary as he does this. So he and his father are both doing all of their work. All the work that his father did is now having the benefits be reaped by the son.
Right.
Like all the work he's done for 40 years has led to this moment where if he didn't do it, they'd all be dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes through the I think it's the path of God. And he says he's walking up there and it's all these guys have gotten their heads cut off before and you see all these dead bodies.
Isn't that one the breath of God? Because the wind in the beginning, then the path is the one where he takes the stepping
That's the
stones.
word of God.
And then the path would be the one where that's the leap of faith.
Yeah. Only a leap from the lion's head.
I feel like it's something to do with breath.
I don't know. Look it up while I'm doing this.
I would, but
So, yeah, you look it up. Okay. So, he goes through this, and he says, him and his father are both saying the same words. Only the penitent man will pass. Only the penitent man will pass. Penitent man is humble. He humbles before God. And right at the last second, he knows, kneel. So he kneels, but how does he know to roll out of the way? I don't know. These Grail Knights were kind of being cheeky at this moment.
I told you, it's because they didn't want anyone to find it.
I know, but the Grail Knight says that someone was supposed to take his place.
Apparently someone who knew to roll forward.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Or maybe in their version of the Bible, they're like, make sure you roll at every chance you get.
Can't confirm that's not in the Bible.
Anyway, so he gets through that one, and his father's relieved. He gets a breath of relief. So they get to the Word of God,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets it right on the first try with the Word of God, what it is, Jehovah. But he doesn't spell it right to begin with. He almost falls through.
He spells it the English way.
Yeah, well, he's and right before he steps, Henry says, but in Latin, Jehovah starts with an I. And then Indy goes, J, and falls right through.
Mm-hmm.
And that, down there, that chasm that's in there is crazy.
That's
It's
creepy.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So he gets out and he's like, starts with an I. So he actually spells it right. And he almost slips again on the letter P close to the end.
Mm.
But he makes it through and I guess tells Walter, Donovan, and Elsa the word. And makes sure they step in the right spot.
They just knew.
It'd be so easy to push Donovan just onto the wrong letters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they don't.
Well, and the other thing is, they're talking about the name of God.
Mm-hmm.
And God has a lot of names in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they said that, I was like, there's so many different words they could have chosen. Like, obviously, Jehovah's a very famous one, but there's, like, Abba, Elohim, like, I can't think of all of them, provider, like, all these different things,
But
right?
most, like, normal audiences
Yahweh.
would know would know
Yahweh.
Jehovah more
Mm.
than any of the other ones.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
It's fair, and it's
Yeah.
also probably the best choice for a modern audience. But I understand what you mean.
Yeah, from a biblical perspective, you look at that and you're like, well, he's got probably
A million
10
other
or
names.
10 or 12 to choose from.
Mm-hmm. So they get through, and the final task is a leap of faith. And the tagline to this quote is, only a leap from the lion's head will he prove his worth. And Indy says, no one can jump that. But you have to really, and this scene of Harrison Ford is probably his best acting I've ever seen. You feel like he's actually about to like
Jump
take
into
this.
a cliff. Right.
Yeah, like like his chest is just like the way it's beating. His heart's beating out of his chest. He's breathing heavy. He's sweating. He can see it on his face. He's like, I'm gonna die if this doesn't work. Puts his foot out, steps right onto an invisible camouflage bridge.
Something like that, yeah.
Very weird that they have this, unless these tasks were made by God. Maybe I could like
It's a big
if
stretch,
they
but
if they said that happened, I'd be like, it's an Indiana Jones movie. Okay. They open the Ark and the actual fires of like God's wrath come out. So this could actually be created by him too. So they get to the Grail room, and there's hundreds of cups, and a knight attacks Indy, but then falls over immediately.
Tries to, right? Yeah.
He is over 700 years old. So he says to Indy, Here's my sword. You come to vanquish me. You're a knight, but you're dressed kind of weird." He's like, "Oh, I'm not a knight. We gotta hurry." But then Donovan walks in, and the knight says, "Only one is the true Grail will bring you life. Any other will take it from you." So Elsa, in her infinite wisdom, says, "No, let me choose," because she knows what Donovan will believe is the Grail and what the true one is. So she gets the most fancy one, gold with jewels, and gives it to him. And he says, "This is the cup of the King of Kings." And drinks from it, and it's one of the best effects.
It is very well done.
It's I believe it's like a stop motion type thing. So he just ages incredibly fast, and he just like his face decays and his hair grows out, and it's horrifying as a kid. I watched it and I was scared.
I remember having vivid like imagery of it.
So then she's like, "All right, he's gone," but right before he like is gone, the wind blows and you see his Nazi badge
right on the floor.
that he was true what his intentions were. So Indy's then's like, "Well, the cup of Christ would have no gold on it. The cup of a carpenter." So he grabs the only like stone or wood cup. I can't really tell if it's a stone or wood.
Probably some sort of clay, I would assume.
Maybe.
That's what I would have. I mean, that's what I would have gone with. But
so he takes that cup, but after Donovan dies, the Grail Knight says he chose poorly. Very sarcasm, which is weird for a 700-year-old guy to know what sarcasm is.
I mean, you don't know.
Maybe. Especially speaking English.
They had gestures.
But speaking English, it also is kind of weird.
Well, they were crusaders. They were speaking English.
In 1300?
England was around.
I know, but like normal, there's a lot of different versions of English.
I mean, it might have been Old English
at the time,
but
either way, it's a movie.
He would know what he was saying more than likely, to an extent.
But it's a movie.
He wasn't like, "Yo, yeet, skirt."
That would have been bad.
Like, you know.
Yeah, I know. So Indy grabs the right Grail, drinks from it, and says, "You have chosen wisely." And so they rush out and they dump the Grail water on Henry's wounds and his gunshot and in his mouth to heal him from the internal bleeding, I assume. And all of the Nazis and Hatay soldiers are like, "Peace out. I'm not here for that." And they leave. And Elsa grabs the cup and she's like, "It's ours, Indy. Yours and mine." And she goes over the seal that the Grail Knight said, "You can't take it from here. You have to leave it here, or take my spot." And he's like, "I'm not gonna do that." So Elsa starts taking it across, and then starts having like an earthquake inside the Grail chamber, and like the earth just splits in like 10 spots. And Elsa goes for the Grail, falls through a cliff, and is hanging on by one hand to Indy and trying to grab the Grail on a ledge. And this is where her ambition and pride are her downfall. Indy says, "I can't hold you. You have to grab me with the other hand." And she does not, and her glove slips off of his hand, and she falls to her death.
The biggest thing to take away from this is don't wear gloves. Especially leather gloves.
True.
That's my biggest advice from this movie.
But also,
I like it.
Then the roles are reversed, and Indy falls right as another piece of rock gives out from underneath him, and Henry grabs him, and he's going for it, and he can get it more. He's touching it more than Elsa could. He actually could grab it if given enough time, but his dad's also slipping, and he says, for the first time in his entire life, he calls his son Indiana, the name he would like to be called for. And then he looks at his dad, and his dad says, "Let it go." everything that his dad has worked for, he's saying that his son is more important than that work. And that puts him to his senses. He grabs his hand, pulls him up, and that's it. Like, this whole like Grail part of his life is done. As they're leaving, Henry sees the Grail Knight, and I assume, so they're leaving, and stuff's like breaking and stuff. So I assume at some point the Grail falls from that like ledge it was on and like shatters or like gets crushed.
Yeah, or just lost to eternity, right?
Yeah, well, because the Grail Knight, in the very last like frames of seeing him, he starts to like sink down and like die.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. He's standing there and then he like he lands on his knees, and then you see his body just go like down and shrink.
I can see that. I mean,
because if the cup is destroyed, I assume that all the magic is just not magic, but the eternal life power is just like it's gone too. So whoever reaped from it.
Right, because then that explains why Indy and his dad don't live forever, because they did drink from it, right?
Yeah, they did, but you have to keep drinking from it.
That's true.
And the Grail Knight was also 700 years old, so having the cup destroyed, he would probably die immediately.
Yeah, that was probably the only thing sustaining him.
So they get outside, and the Grail Temple is gone. There's no more. And he asks his dad, "What'd you learn?" And his dad says he is enlightenment. That is what he did. And he tells Indy, "Don't feel sad about Elsa. She thought she'd found a prize. She didn't know what she really had." So it kind of like gets Indy off of like he just lost somebody that he could love. Because if she would live and she was better, I bet they would have stayed together a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
They were a pretty good match otherwise. So then Henry says, "Junior, let's go home," or whatever. And Sala says, What's this Junior? Well, it's his name. Henry Jones Jr. I like Indiana. We named the dog Indiana. You were named after the dog? I had fond memories of that dog. Fun fact, the dog at the beginning of the movie that he runs past in his house, that's the same breed of dog that George Lucas named Indy and got the inspiration for the name of Indy from that dog in real life.
Oh, okay.
So like he had a dog named Indy, and then he created the character and called it Indiana from the dog.
Right.
And it's the same breed in the beginning. So it's great. Like, this movie is full of just like inside jokes if you know what you're looking for. So Marcus says, "Henry, Indy, I know the way." Smacks his horse and he falls sideways, and Henry says, "Got lost in his own museum, huh?" Indy's like, "Yep," and they ride off into the sunset on the final Indiana Jones film ever, the third and final one, except they made a fourth one and a fifth one.
Oh, a fifth one, yeah.
But this movie is so interesting because it ends on the horizon being at the bottom.
It does.
Which makes it
a reference to the Fabelmans. Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The Fabelmans came way after.
Yeah.
It's a reference to Spielberg's history.
Yes. Kind of, both ways. Watch the Fabelmans, you'll get that reference. And watch our review.
I feel like we've plugged that so much.
It was a good review.
It is a Spielberg film.
It is a good review, too.
Yeah.
We learned a lot. And after all of this, that's it.
That's the plot summary.
That's the plot summary and all of the details that I can remember off the top of my head.
Wow. There you go.
Oh, I need a drink.
The deep dive that I had was from the last scene, in that it's like it's so powerful to see someone who's worked their entire life have this like very thing at their grasp, and it shows that the pursuit of knowledge is never in its end enough for you. And even if you pursue all this knowledge that you need or you think you need, and you pursue all these things that you want, that in the end it won't bring you what you want. It's about the people that you have, and it's about your family. And so that was the big takeaway I got from it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the movie so many times that not as many as you, but I've seen it a lot, and to the point where the deep dive is I'd have to do research. I've never done research on it, but I mean, just an overarching theme. You know,
well, you've seen it so many times. I've seen it so many times, but still the point of the movie is not lost on you.
Mm-hmm.
You get it every time.
Yeah, it's still there.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any deep dives, Kenny? I don't think you do, unless you do. You haven't seen the movie before, but if you do have something, let me know right now.
I do actually. I have 2.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to learn.
So actually, it's technically 3 things. So when you told me to look something up.
Yes.
So it's the puzzle that Indy has to solve to get to the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
The breath of God.
Okay.
Is the first one. The Word of God is the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the path of God.
Okay.
Is the last one.
Okay.
I knew the first one had something to do with breath
because
of the wind that blows. Yeah.
So, fun fact about my deep dives, I actually really didn't have any coming into this. However,
that's why I figured you didn't have any.
You were to say right now, you're like, actually, I didn't have any. I just wanted to say that.
No, however, my deep thoughts came in basically when you started talking about some of the plot and giving like fun facts about it, and something you had just said. So, the first one is a fun fact and then a deep thought, and just that. So when you said, and this was like way early on, about River Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix, getting stabbed, and they were like, you're like, if there was some club, the Viper Room, which is kind of funny because I watch a TV show called Ghost Adventures.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And they did a episode at the Viper Room.
Oh wow!
And actually, so I don't know where you stand in all of this, Nick. You can.
I've never seen it. So
okay.
It's okay.
All right.
It's an interesting show, though.
It is interesting, but it's not for some people.
Yeah, skeptics go away, but if you're interested in ghosts,
so they were actually there, and they actually got evidence of Joaquin talking.
River?
No, Joaquin.
Joaquin's alive still.
Oh, he is? That'd be River. No.
River Phoenix died. Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker in Joker.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, then it'd be River then. So whoever. Okay.
But his brother was there when he got stabbed and died.
Okay.
Big rib.
Anyway,
it'd be River then. Well,
yeah.
I don't know who wrote that article and said Joaquin is the one who died. Then they're absolutely wrong.
Yeah, they actually couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah.
He's only like 48 maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, anyway. So they got evidence of River then. Okay.
Awesome.
I stand corrected on one of my deep dives.
Actually, the person who wrote the article stands corrected. You just were misled.
We proved them wrong.
Exactly. Okay. So thanks for that. So and I think when you were talking about like some of the themes. I'm not trying to steal what you said, but it's like pursuing false idols and gods gets you nowhere in life.
Yeah.
And basically that's what the Nazis were doing. They were pursuing this holy grail, if you will, of a cup that Jesus drank out of in the Last Supper. It's like it's just a cup at the end of the day.
And pride and greed are your downfall.
Right, exactly. And it's you don't need to be pursuing that. There's
other things.
I'm not going to try and get too much like
philosophical
and all preachy here, but there's only one thing you should be following in life, and
that's fair.
So,
there's a lot of themes throughout the movie, like a lot.
Sure. And we could go on for this for like days, maybe.
Days, but we don't have the time, or the energy.
No, and some of us have to work in the morning. And it's getting pretty late,
and some of us have a long drive home.
Yes. So do you have any more deep dives? Any more tidbits? Any fun facts?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Let's go right into the ratings. What is your rating 1 out of 10?
I would give this a solid 8. It was really good. I would watch it again. It wouldn't be like one of my first picks for a movie, but if it was on TV, I'd probably turn it on.
Interesting.
And watch it. if I were to go out and buy a movie, it wouldn't be my first choice.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was looking for a good thriller, heck yeah, I'd pick it.
Nick,
it's an 8.5 for me.
8.5.
It is. I got fond childhood memories from it. I love Harrison Ford as an actor. It's the action in it is fabulous. The comedy is there. The dialogue's really well done. There's a lot of just secret things you can find throughout the movie. I enjoyed the Lego sets as a kid a lot.
Yeah. I wish I had some, but I played the game, so I kind of got it.
I didn't get to play the games, so there you go. You had that, and I had the actual sets. But yeah, anyways, I really enjoyed that, and I actually have the Lego Indiana Jones games now, so maybe I could play that. But
you should. They're still a great time even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And with this being my favorite movie of all time, and we have talked about it for a very long time, and I know so much, it's obviously a 10 out of 10.
This
Probably
is the movie.
Yes, if I could give a higher rating, I would. But this is our highest rating of a movie.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. And so, yeah, this movie has changed my life in so many ways. It got me into filmmaking. They don't make movies like this anymore because they don't use practical effects all that much anymore.
And no more Nazis.
Yeah, well, there will be in this new movie. The main villain are Nazis again.
Only in Indiana Jones, apparently.
Yes. Yep. So...
Freaking Illinois Nazis.
It's true. Maybe they are Illinois
Maybe
Nazis
this time, yeah. Well, the college that Indy teaches at is Chicago.
So if Donovan was in Illinois,
so
he was an Illinois Nazi.
Yes.
Confirmed. The
All
Blues
right.
Brothers were right.
Yep. They got their day in court, and now they're dead.
Oh. Well, yeah. He especially is.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That was it from us today on Cup of Joe and a Show.
Yes, it is.
And this might be Nick's last episode for a while.
Who knows?
We'll try and get him back on. And if we can't, we always have other people.
We'll go and kidnap him.
Yeah. We'll go all the way to Ohio.
Mm-hmm. It'll be good. It was a good Last Crusade, gentlemen.
Yep.
It was solid.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Stay caffeinated.
Always stay caffeinated. See ya. Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the episode today. If you did, you should go check out the rest of our episodes on our website at ccflugnutspodcast.com.
You can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages by searching the Lugnuts Podcast Group.
Thanks for listening, and remember, Jesus loves you,
And so do we.